Bella.
Listen, but what is the feature that if I practice will give me back the score faster? I want to lower the score and I want to practice only one thing.
Ahaha, are you lazy?
No, because actually, if you think about it, you know, a player has not so much time. Certainly, he always has to practice the long game. He has to warm up a little bit. We never learn to do the swing completely, so it's always a work in progress. But what is the thing that gives back the result the fastest, in your opinion?
I tell you, we are not far from that area, maybe. Always short, and so you're going to play short, even the long game.
But actually, you know what? I'm always afraid to go long and then have the return putt, so I even hit long approaches.
Because you know then the return putt is the same, it's just the outward putt again.
And so?
In my opinion, an approach that is slightly longer than this as a type of swing. So let's say something that's on about a 30-meter shot. Because it can help you at 30 meters.
Practice shots from 30 meters.
Which are shots that theoretically you're not going to hit very often on the course. However, they give you that feeling a little bit about how the club has to work on the ground, that already there's a little bit of speed, so you start to not work it well, and then hitting a fat shot or a top shot is something immediate. And it's already basically a little swing. So eventually, we already start to move the body, so having to coordinate nice.
Wow.
On the other hand, I'm not afraid to play the return putt.
Because you pretty much only hit long bombs.
And so it basically already starts to be something, let's say, not a little chip where you basically make a putt and then
at the end,
At the end, in quotes, you're not going to move, but it starts to be something where you have to start coordinating various body parts, actually. So there has to be a minimum of body rotation, a minimum of hand action, and then balance begins to take some coordination on all the various parts of the body.
And you would hit it just from rough or even from the fairway, ball well placed or ball placed badly.
Generally.
From the bunker.
I possibly change there as much as possible.
Change of ball position on the ground.
Also because at that point there you also go to practice another thing, which is how the club reacts to the ground based on what your swing is.
And also about how the ball...
Yes, and you start to see from where the ball gets more spin, where it gets less spin.
Yes.
How much it gets stuck and how much speed the club loses in various types of shots. And that's it.
What do you do instead? When I get asked this question, I can't even get to the hole by accident. But the important thing in golf is to always be repetitive. I hit 4 balls that are within a span of each other.
Just move the hole a little further back.
No, it's just that I have in my hand the sand that is not the club I'd use here.
5 balls.
5 balls. What do I usually recommend? To focus on the putt. Everything about shots that you can shoot with the putt. So not only on the green, but also from here. Get out my meat pounder.
Hit this putt here.
In my opinion, at any level, okay? So there is no something like, but they are scratch, but they are GA, but they are NC, but they are GA.
You're G, I am GA.
No, you are B. Nobody knows that your name is actually Andrea.
This is revelation only because you have seen this video. We spoiled my official name.
In my opinion, at the time when you know from any lie around the green, being able to put balls always pretty close to the vicinity of the hole from any distance, first. And second, you get really close, and from 3 meters down, that's right, you become a sniper. In my opinion, when you have those two mixed...
When you're just off the green, start taking 2, maximum 3 shots together.
Those 3 shots should get out of the course. If not, you average to hit 2 already, and already, in my opinion, you got ahead, but that point goes by so much.
Getting there in the vicinity of the green,
it's a little less easy. But any position, and then clearly the mix works. Why? Because if I'm comfortable playing the putt well, you try a little bit.
Show me.
If I'm comfortable that I play the putt well, or at least manage to put it in the vicinity of the pin all the time, then within a meter and a half, okay, from almost any position around the green, except for the bunker, which that is a separate discussion, which still makes sense, but we have to pick one thing. And then you mix it with the fact that from a meter and 20 centimeters, I become a sniper.
Did you see?
I become a sniper because I've practiced that shot so much. And so I feel confident the mix of the two actually makes the whole game better. Because you imagine you're comfortable, you're maybe at a 36 handicap, you've got the double shot on every hole. So that means on an average par 4, you can close in 6. And you know that 2 of those shots are on the green or around the green. You know you can hit 2 shots from that position. At that point, you have 4 shots to spend on the long game, maybe of a hole of, let's exaggerate, around 350 meters. 350 meters means that if you have 150 shot to hit, which more or less, when one starts going down the course, everybody has it, let alone a 36. It means you've made 150, you're at 50 meters, and you still have 2 more shots to put it. Where then with 2 more shots? That is the 2 famous putts. You close with the 6. In my opinion, you make even with less.
And I'll tell you more. Playing with the putt, you can also already set the strategy to almost not shoot at the pin, throw the ball where there are practically no obstacles.
The designers and the course, the fire-breathing green dragon is bastard, and so they are bastards, and so the pin often and willingly draws us in, and we get crazy, we want to shoot at the pin, but the pin is almost always put in a place where there is a zan around it, and so sign of the cross and let's go. But instead, if we disregard, because we know so much, that if we take the vicinity of the beginning of the green, on average, we are able to make 2 putts, who will stop us then? At that point, the stress is there, okay? Then, for example, when I'm out of the green, I learned, but because I have a somewhat peculiar putt with the club butt, and so this a little bit touches, so I have to be just barely open because I can have an incident touch. The risk with the putt from outside is that it starts to touch a little bit earlier, okay? So I putt, I just barely open, and then however I shoot a very normal putt. It has to be practiced. For example, you see me who hasn't practiced these shots for a long time now, I have to work at it. Instead, it has to become natural.
Question, does it scare you to shoot the ball from here?
Putt from the rough in competition. So I would tend to play a wedge in a competition if I feel like it. But for another reason, because if I can make it roll, I can put it maybe in the zone, but I can't put it very close because I can't control the start that well. But because my aspiration is to really put it really close, okay? But why? Because my head tells me, and you have that skill, so you have to get it out. But in reality, if I probably put myself here with 10 balls, I would make less with 10 shots hit only with the putt than I would with the 10 balls shot only with the sand. However, at the time when you have that 1 ball, 1 shot to spend, you spend it, yes, to hit an approach and put it, to hit an approach without almost having to put then, which is not brilliant, okay? But let's say that is fair, though. I mean, it's not that good when, in my opinion, you're average at the beginning, or in my case, now that it's a period that I play very little, I practice very little, you'll have to play only putts, because that's the only thing that allows you to be safe. And by the way, it's the only thing that you always do. That is, while the approaches you might happen to make around almost without having to hit them, the putt, you make sure, so the more you shot.
Why don't you hold from the outside? I don't understand this. You lose shots to have to also putt when you can directly go to the hole. In fact, my reasoning starts from exactly this last sentence of yours. That is when there is little practice. The shot to the green tends not to be as sharp, and so even shots that maybe usually come easy to us, like hitting a green from...
Hold this, I want to hit an approach.
Hitting a green from 100 meters, shots that maybe are on paper very simple. However, not having practiced them, we don't really have the manual dexterity even to handle situations maybe what a spin, guys. I mean, perhaps to handle situations slightly different from what might be purely standard. Maybe there's a bit of air against us, a little bit of... Come on, not every ball is going to spin, especially if you top them.
I wanted to make it really aggressive.
If you top, you don't spin. So maybe we don't hit so many greens, and in the end,
Yes, we need...
having a shot in recovery might come in handy.
Yes, this comes naturally to me.
I'm going to hit a needle shot toward the green.
The part, if practiced even not so much and repeatedly, it's very fast to learn. It's a skill that you keep for a very long time, and it's sure to improve your game because you have to hit that to close the hole. Then it's up to getting there.
It's good that both of us didn't think about going to the driving range and dropping bombs with an iron.
Yes, maybe we kind of take it for granted.
Long, good, although we probably
take it a little for
for a
granted.
player who's not, let's say, a beginner. The main goal is to cover the distance.
Hit the ball and make it fly.
So maybe even have a friendly club with which to say, I shoot 9-iron, I know that. With a needle shot, the ball goes forward, the ball, then the...
But that's why earlier we were saying, when I gave the example of the hole at 350 meters, I divided it with an iron, on average an iron that makes 150 meters, because usually a player practices with a 7 and an 8, and on average for a player at the beginning it makes 100, 120 meters.
Okay.
And then the first thing you use is usually a hybrid, a little wood, which on average reaches that famous 150 meters. It does have to roll and run properly. A little bit better from the tee when you hit it from the tee shot. However, on average, you have that distance.
In fact, I'm saying for us, because somebody who more or less already makes the ball fly, he just has to keep it under control, make up for mistakes of any missed greens. Maybe here's where we still manage to bring the round home. Maybe we don't play well. But we play close to the handicap. If I just miss the ball, instead, maybe it pays off.
Yeah, sure, to be able to swing a little bit.
A hybrid, a club.
So look, maybe I stay with my idea. Maybe if you are just at the very, very beginning, probably the real skills is to be able to have a club that the ball flies with and you're safe. Why? Because there at that point you have 54 shots, so you can really adjust them. If you have a repetitive 8-iron, yes, then you have to ask yourself the problem when you're around the green.
Sure, however, you got there and didn't already put an X on the score.
Which is a problem.
That's right.
The whole problem that you usually have in the beginning, which is to be able to get to where you get the score. So maybe here, 1 + 1, if you already have the easy shot that somehow makes the ball fly, approaches as B says, or also a putt, as I say.
Well, however, in either case, not a single shot. Yes, never approach or putt that is little off the green, pine, tall grass, short grass, etc.
If on the other hand you are a player at the very beginning, then yes, maybe the 8-iron could be good for you. However, at that point, maybe the last treat before closing, practice it if you can, when you can, from the spongy rough, from the fairway, or otherwise from the real areas, maybe even from a bunker that can help you improve your impact with the ball. You can do it in some driving ranges rather than just from the mat, because the mat replicates a lie, which is good for learning a little bit about swing.
Okay. But in the course, no way.
We made a video, however, always playing only from the mat.
You can do here. In BO2G courses, you can also play only from the mat.
It can also be done. All right, let us know below in the comments instead, what is the shot that you think is important to know how to do, and that can revolutionize your round. For example, the one that puts you more confident than anyone else. Let us know below in the comments and see star.
And let's pick up the balls.